Hey everybody, Chris here, you join Off-Road. This is a for sale video. So this is our U-Haul 2 that I purchased, I don't know, 5-6 months ago, and got in the build schedule, and we built it as a spec build. So I think it's pretty cool, do something a little unique. Regular vans are getting harder to find, especially in the condition that we want them in to sell. And so this is it. So I don't know what the intended use is going to be for it. So somebody might want to use it as a work truck. Somebody might want to make it into a camper. That's going to be up to them. So we've stopped the build at this point, and we will customize it according to the new owner's needs. For instance, it's a little oversprung in my opinion right now. We went with a 5,000 front and a 7,500 rear. It looks good, but the front is a little too bouncy. So if somebody's going to use it as a camper and not make it too heavy, we'll probably swap these springs out for a lighter spring. If they're going to load it heavy and use it for work, or load it heavy and use it as a camper, we will probably leave these springs in it. But in my opinion, they're a little too stiff. We've got some other springs here, and we'll swap those as part of the price if needed, depending on who buys it. So this is a 2006 E450 V10. It's an ex-U-Haul. It's a 17-foot U-Haul box. They don't use these anymore. They only use these 15s and the 20s. This is the same size box that we have on our U-Haul 1, the one that we use for our Colorado runs. We've got a 6-inch kit on 33-inch Nitto Recon grapplers. This is the American, actually, I'm sorry, this is a Pro Comp wheel that we had. We sandblasted and then powder coated white. I thought this thing would look awesome on the white wheels, just kind of how the factory wheels are white. And it looks pretty cool. Cleaned up the frame, got it painted, Single Fox 2.0. I already talked about spring specs. We got our FB005 front bumper on it with a worn winch, front receiver, worn shackles, and the Baja Design lights. The Baja Design lights are controlled by the S-Pod that is mounted under the hood with the switches in the driver's side door panel. We've got a bad boy stage 3 front axle, 456 gears to match the rear end. I'll get more into that in a minute. 14.5-inch diameter brakes, serviceable wheel bearings. This is our stage 3 top of the line front axle. I've got a Hellwig front sway bar to control sway. This is a V10, so it's a V10 5R110. Has 136,000 miles on it. If you've ever looked into buying a U-Haul, they do service them regularly as far as fluid changes. They're really particular about that. The things they don't service are suspension parts. I've ran a U-Haul before where the suspension was just shot. And even our U-Haul that we have, the one we run back and forth to Colorado, we bought it with a blown head gasket. Wound up rebuilding the engine and just doing the head gaskets and having the heads redone. And since then, we've put about 40,000 miles on it, and it's great. We did have the cab detailed. It's got imperfections. There's some little nicks and scrapes here and there. Kind of normal for a U-Haul of this vintage. Nothing crazy, but I would consider normal wear and tear. The body also kind of normal. We haven't adjusted. There's a little bit of waviness in this skirt, which can be adjusted. We just haven't taken the time to do it yet. And we'll probably leave it as is now. Again, depending on the intended use of the new owner. Modified the exhaust. This thing does not have a catalytic converter on it. It was stolen prior to us purchasing it. So if you live in an area that needs a catalytic converter, one of those will need to be added. I think I already mentioned the the steps and the flares. Here's the S-Pod on the driver's side door panel. The interior we have not touched. So we just gave it a real basic cleanup, but it is still stock to the U-Haul. Again, end user can decide what they want to do as far as the interior. We made ours pretty nice and redid the seats and added carpet and a bunch of insulation because it puts so many road miles. That'll be up to you if you buy it. NV271 T-case. Already talked about the rear drive shaft. Front drive shaft is a 1350 CV. Out back is where we basically put a brand new axle in it. So a complete rebuild axle, I should say. So when we got this rig, it had a botched bearing job on the passenger side and the spindle was torn up. So we drove it here. It wasn't an issue. It was still drivable, but it wasn't right. So I found another axle that actually was missing parts on the other side. So we basically made two axles into one This one did have 410 gears in it, which was odd. But so we got one. Actually, I'm sorry. It's hard for me to remember all this stuff. The donor axle was 410. Our existing axle was 456. So we basically took two axles and made it into one with all new bearings, all new seals, all new brakes. So the rear axle is basically a complete refresh. We've got our direct sway bar mount links on the back. Here's the rear axle. Fox 2.0s. Again, powder coated white wheels with a 255 8017 Nitto Recon Grappler AT. It's got a few little marks up there. The rear door has some rust bubbles popping through. You can see that under the vinyl wrap. When U-Haul decommissions these things, they just do a white wrap. They don't take off their decals. They wrap them white. This one was actually purchased from U-Haul several years ago. It wasn't just purchased from U-Haul like we did ours straight from U-Haul. This one, I believe, was purchased in 2013 maybe, and it was here in North Carolina. The company used it, I think, for furniture delivery before we got it. So yeah, that's it. That's all I can think of. Everything we did. This thing is ready to go. Asking price is $50,000 as you see it. We did just do coils and plugs on the engine, and that is it for maintenance. We've done oil change and a full service on the transmission too. So it is ready to go. If you have any questions, you can put them below or shoot me an email, chris@ujointoffroad.com. If you're interested in purchasing, please contact me that way. The rig is located here at our North Carolina shop, and it is ready to go. We're going to continue putting miles on it as we do all of our builds. And if you're interested, let me know. Again, chris@ujointoffroad.com. Asking price $50,000. Thanks for watching.